Here we have our head fresh from the bandsaw, as you can see. So we've worked quite a bit of the shape. Next thing to do is to get rid of a lot of this excess pieces that we don't need, that obviously the bandsaw can't do. Now we've got quite a few big sections here, those bits for example, and some sections around the chin area. I'm just going to mark on the ears first. Now if you've got another version of your printout, you can line up your ear position and draw it on, or you can just do this by eye if you want to. It doesn't really matter, it's not so critical. But that's our ear shape, which means that all of this excess, as you can see, which is part of the ear shape here, can come off, and most of this here, where it comes back to the face as well, all can come away. So we just keep this section there. Now we'll just repeat that on the other side. Just mark that on there, rough position there. So I can use my template again. You can always, of course, glue your ears separately, which is what a lot of people do. That way you can cut them nicely on the bandsaw to shape and fit them on. If you were to have square sides to your head, you could glue on the ears separately. That's quite a good way of doing that. Means you get very even shapes. But if you're not too worried about being dead symmetrical, then you don't need to do that necessarily. Also going to mark here on the nose, the chin. I've got a little bit of my pattern left here, so I'm just going to mark these points. Let me just perhaps reposition the camera so you can see a little easier. Now we've got our section here. Obviously this was part of the neck, so that can go there, basically along that line and curving round that way. Same there, this can come off here. So all this can come away here, and then with the nose as well. So it's leaving this point there. So all of that can come away, all of that can come away. We're coming round here to the eye position there and there. So immediately we've got a lot of wood that can come off. Now I'm going to be a little bit careful around these bits that are stuck on. As you can see, there's only really a small amount that I needed extra on there. So I could have almost got away with leaving it off the back of the head and not worrying about it because it's going to be covered by the hair, but it was a good technique to show anyway. So with our bench hook here, we'll start getting in to these areas. You can mark on your center line as well. That's always useful to get that point on there. Just mark a centre line point on. It's going to be somewhere along there. That'll just stop us coming too much off centre. So we'll get rid of these sections that we know we definitely don't need. We can really get those off in quite big chunks. Okay, so removing some of this excess around the back of the head. You might just want to mark your shape. You can chop in around this line to make sure you don't dig any of that away. So you can do that with stab cuts down in, or if you've got a V tool, you can mark it out with that to start with, just to stop us running over the line. So you can keep the shape with that, or as I say, you can with a straightish gouge, or one that marks, or one that follows the contour of the line, you can just stab in and dig in that way, and then work it back closer when you get nearer to the finish line that you want. You can really sort of get in there, start rounding off back of the head. Going across the grain at the moment because I'm not worried about taking off big chunks. In fact, that's exactly what I want to do, is take off quite big sections. And this piece of line, it's not the best piece I've ever worked on. So we're starting to get round there. It might be that it hasn't warmed up enough as well. It's very cold today. You can even feel the coldness on the wood. I'm not sure whether that actually makes a difference or not, or whether it's just being stubborn. So with that side starting to work out, you can then do the same from here in to get this excess off the ear. Start to get rid of that. I might get my mallet on this. Now, what is quite useful as well, if you've cut from a square block, if you've got this top section, because where you've got a round head, obviously it wants to move around when you're carving. Now there's several things you could do. You could screw up through here, put it on a screw, which will obviously secure it. That can make it difficult to sort of work around if you work like I do and you tend to spin it around a lot and keep working from different angles. Obviously, if you've got a proper carving vise that does that holds it and you can put it around in different positions, that's probably the best. But using your block here, hopefully what we can do is use that to brace it and stop it moving around too much in there. Try a slightly more curved gouge, see if that helps me get a little bit more off. Usually the flat fishtail I was using is my favourite. Sometimes when you get a really stubborn bit of wood like this, you have to resort to a gouge that's got more of a profile on it when you're really digging out these excess sections. Okay, so we'll try that on the other side. Yes, that's been a lot more successful. Usually I don't have to use the mallet much. The wood that I get is usually so nice and soft for carving. I can do most of it with my hands, but this one is obviously a bit more solid. So what I'm going to do now is mark that ear section like we did before. Just mark this out with a V tool. Get the shape. Okay. So that's what we've got to do, is work off these areas. As you can see, starting to take away most of this excess around here. Then I'll round over these bits and start taking away these extra bits around the nose. I'm not going to leave this too small at the front here just yet, but we'll get in some of this excess in here and start tapering in the sides as well. And just have a quick look at the chin. Then we could dig out some of these areas here as well. It's going to let me. Okay, so that's what we're going to do, carry on doing, removing these excess bits that I've marked and starting to taper in and getting rid of the excess around the nose here. Also take this area around the mouth, start to take that in as well. So once you've done, if you do a little bit on one side of the face, then mirror it on the other, working from your centre line. That way you won't go too asymmetric unless that's what you want for your design. So if you do a little bit off this side, then sort of mirror it off this side as you go.